बारिदी के बुलंदर सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद व अज्जिल फरजुम। जैसे हमने वादा किया है कि इंशाअल्लाह 7 पे इंग्लिश मौलाना सैयद हैदर हसनैन जो हैं वो मेंबर पे होंगे। तो हम अपना प्रॉमिस जो है वो पूरा कर रहे हैं। वो लोग जो कि फेसबुक पे बैठ के इस वक्त देख रहे हैं या यूट्यूब पे, उन तमाम से गुजारिश है कि फ़र्श अज़ा पे आने का ज़्यादा सवाब है। आप उस पर भी सुन सकते हैं, बल्कि उस पर तो आप बाद में भी सुन सकते हैं, लेकिन लाइव फ़र्श अज़ा पे आके सुने। तो अब मैं किबला मौलाना सैयद हैदर हसनैन साहब से गुजारिश करूँगा कि वो मेंबर पे तशरीफ़ लाएँ, और आप मोमिनीन जो यहाँ पे मौजूद हैं उनसे गुजारिश है कि थोड़ा थोड़ा सा आगे आ जाइए ताकि मजलिस का एक माहौल बने। आवाज़ बुलंद सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला
As a gift to all of the Anbiya, the A'imma, Lady Fatima al-Zahra, Imam Sahib al-Zaman, all of the Shuhada, all of your marhumin, and the marhumin of all believers, Rahimallah man qara al-Fatiha. As a gift to Imam Sahib al-Zaman, with the loudest of your voices, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala al-Bashir al-Nadir, al-Siraj al-Munir, أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Yesterday we began by discussing the idea of revolution and how Islam wishes to revolutionize the human being. And we went and we discussed that revolution requires force. In the definition of revolution, force is present. It's a forcible overthrow of a governing body. Force has to be involved. Why exactly that is the case, we'll discuss in future evenings, inshallah. However, what is that force? Does Islam force a human being to change? We discussed, from one perspective, yes. From one perspective, no. And we discussed the no in detail yesterday. We began by discussing the yes part of the equation, which we'll continue today, inshallah. How does Islam force a human being to change? How does Islam force a human being to revolutionize himself? What force, what power does Islam use in order to overthrow that governing authority that rules a person's heart, but shouldn't be ruling that person's heart, and replace it with the one who should be ruling a person's heart, which is Allah?
MashaAllah.
What force does Islam use? We discussed that. It uses al-hub, love. And in the narration of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim was-salam, the entirety of the religion, ad-deen itself, al-iman, faith itself, has been summarized in one word: al-hub, love. It's love. That's all it is. That's all it's about. It's love. We'll continue from there, inshallah. Dear brothers, dear sisters, al-hub, love, without a doubt, is the most powerful force that exists. But what is al-hub? What is love? What is the topic that we are discussing? What is this love that Islam is using? What is the definition of that love? Now, love is something that's very difficult to define, if not impossible. Why? Because a definition, by definition, of anything has to be clearer than the thing it's defining.
Defining.
If I take the word of a random concept that no one's ever heard, and then use even more confusing words to define it, that's not a definition. The whole philosophy of a definition is what? It's meant to clarify something a person doesn't know, not to make it more obscure and difficult to understand, right? You'll find that the most important things in life are the things you cannot define. The best example, existence itself. Existence. What does that word mean? But every one of us knows exactly what existence means. It's always with you. You're part of it. You're experiencing it every moment. You know what else can't be defined? This is something in brackets, and we're going to continue discussion on love, inshallah. But it's very important. It's an important point. It's a shame not to mention this in this Majalis. You know what else can't actually be defined? Allah.
No.
Allah cannot be defined. Yes, we can understand that there is a God. Yes, we can see. Yesterday we spoke about the word alaha, where the word al-ilah, Allah, comes from. And there are different opinions, both of which are correct in their own places regarding that word. And both opinions and understandings have a lesson to teach us. You know what another meaning of alaha is? It's that which bewilders the mind. That which causes the intellect to be bewildered. Yes, my intellect can understand that there is an ilah, there is a God. But what is the reality of that God? No one can know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains himself, describes himself to us in the Quran in our language, in a way we can understand something small of that reality. But at the same time, he makes it clear, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ. Nothing is like him. Nothing is like him. You cannot fathom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's beyond the mind. The mind is a creation of Allah. How can it encompass the Creator? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But back to our topic of al-hub, love. Actually, allow me to mention this, then continue back to the topic. Yes, the mind cannot fathom the Creator. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed something within the human being which can feel His presence. And this is a place where words come to an end. This is where language comes to an end. That is something that can only be experienced. And in a Qudsi narration, a hadith Qudsi, which is words that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken, but they're not in the Quran. Rather, they've reached us through His prophets and the A'immah after them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, my heavens and my earth, or the heavens and the earth cannot encompass me, but I'm encompassed by the hearts of my believing servants. What does encompassing mean? It's not physical. It doesn't mean we've limited Allah. Rather, Allah is bringing our attention to a very important point, that me as your Lord, I place something within you where you can feel my presence. And that is only the heart. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Surely only in Allah's remembrance do the hearts find tranquility. The hearts. The qalb. Al-qalbu haram Allah. فَلَا تَسْكِنْ حَرَمَ اللَّهِ خَيْرُ اللَّهِ. The heart is the sanctuary of Allah. Therefore do not place within the sanctuary of Allah other than Allah. In any case, al-hub, love, is something that all of us know what that means. That word means something to every single one of us. And every single human being knows what that means. When love is mentioned, a person understands something by it, but ask someone to define it. It's very hard, if not impossible. It's like existence itself. Ask someone to define what is existence. All of us know what that means, but we cannot articulate it in language. Al-hub, love. However, what we can do is we can try to understand something about this mystery, which is called al-hub, love, by means of its effects. By means of its effects. By the way, why is it that we can't define love? Because it is so clear, it is so evident. من شدة وضوحه. And this is the same with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why can Allah not be defined? Not because He's hidden, but because He is so evident. It's like when there's a bila tashbih. It's just an example to get some understanding. We're not describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, when someone shines a light right into your eyes, it blinds you. You can't see in that moment. Is that because you're blind? No. It's actually because of the intensity of light. When we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is hidden from us, it's min shiddati wuduhi. It's because of the intensity of His being evident that He is hidden. If I ask you to name 3 things that you see in this room, you ask me to name 3 things you see in this room. I see the flag on which the name of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is written. I see the walls and I see the roof, for example. I can name many things, the carpet, yourselves, this microphone. You ask anyone, name 3 things you see around you at any given point in time. They'll name 3 things, very easily. No one will say they saw light. But the reality is, the first thing you saw was light, and other than light was only seen by means of that light. This is a physical example of where we're seeing something, yet it's somehow hidden from us. It's present, and by means of that thing that's present, we're seeing other than it. Yet you wouldn't name it if someone asked you. Why? Because you're not paying attention to that in that moment. What does Allah call Himself in the Quran? Allah nur samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Light is the most evident thing. It's not physical light, by the way. It's something much closer to you than physical light. Because between you and physical light, there's still a distance. But Allah says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Know this, that Allah comes between a man and his own heart. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say He is hidden, it's min shiddati wuduh, because of the intensity of His being evident and close. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. And we are closer to man than his own vein that leads to his heart. In any case, love and hope, because it is self-evident, it cannot be defined. However, we look at the effects of love, of al-hub, in order to get some understanding. Look, brothers and sisters, when you put your hand in water, what's going to happen? If that thing is truly water, your hand will get wet. Is it possible for anyone to put something in water? That thing you're putting the thing inside is water in reality. It's not a mirage, it's really water. Is it possible you put something inside that substance that's called water, and that water fails to make it wet? You may say that, well, the substance may have something upon it. No. The first layer or contact of the substance inside that bowl of water is going to become wet. That's the reality. Why? Because in the essence of water is the following quality. It makes other than it wet. Right? Similarly, to understand love better, we can look at the effects of love. What are the effects of love? When someone loves something, it results in what? It automatically results in seeking closeness to the thing they If someone is saying they love someone, but they don't pay attention to them, they don't seek closeness to them, they don't call them, they don't text them, clearly they don't love them. This is what women always complain about this, right? You don't text me, you don't call me, you don't ask about me. Everyone understands this. Why? Because if you love someone, you constantly see closeness to the thing you love. This is like the water that makes wet other than itself. We can determine who rules our hearts. We can determine who our ilah is, our object of love, our object of worship, by seeing and evaluating our actions. What are we seeking closeness to in our lives? That is your ilah. هل الدين إلا الحب? Is religion other than love? Every person is religious. There's no such thing as an a-religious person. Everyone has an ilah, has an object of love. Everyone seeks closeness to that object of love. And everyone has an imam who takes them close to that object of love. Right? And we discussed that a little bit yesterday. How different people may be after different things, but in reality, who are they after? Whatever a human being is after, whatever a human being is seeking closeness to, that is their ilah, number one. Number two, that is the thing that rules their hearts. That is the thing they are worshipping. And number three, whatever you're after, you want it in the unlimited form. Every single human being. And we discussed that yesterday. And the unlimited is only who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in reality, everyone is after him. So what's the difference between human beings? The difference is some people are at a higher level of consciousness and awareness about what they are truly after. This is why Islam is so amazing. How does it use force to revolutionize the human being? It awakens the human being. It gives him the awareness and knowledge and understanding and ma'rifah to understand, oh, human being, this is what you're truly after. This is what you're truly after. You've been going to the wrong address. You think this limited creation will fill your thirst? Your thirst will never be filled by anything limited. That's why every time you reach the thing you think you were after, you're happy for some months, for a year, more or less, and then you want more of it. What are you after? The unlimited. You're after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single one of us. But many of us don't understand what we are after. We don't have ma'rifah of the one we're truly after. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
Therefore, dear brothers and sisters, Islam uses force in this way. It awakens that love which is present within every single one of us and every single human being. It awakens that love for him. And it gives man a plan. If you want to arrive at that, beloved, if you want to arrive at that station, at that maqam, this is what you have to do. Don't waste your time going anywhere else. This is what you have to do. Therefore, هل الدين إلا الحب? Is religion anything but love? صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل.
From the effects of love, dear brothers and sisters, is what? التقرب إلى الحبيب. Seeking closeness to the object of love. You know what else is from the effects of taqarrub? Sorry, from the effects of al-hub, the effects of love. When I'm seeking closeness to the one I love, whatever that beloved may be, whoever I may be, from a child until the oldest person alive on the face of this earth, from someone who is not doing very well economically to a billionaire. This is something related to our humanity, you can't escape it. Something related to the essence of the human being. What else, what other effect does this love have? The fact is that, dear brothers and sisters, when a human being is seeking closeness to that beloved, and they face obstacles in arriving at that beloved, because of the love that's inside them for that beloved, they face those obstacles with bravery. Love makes you brave in facing any obstacle, any challenge, any impediment that's keeping you away from the one you love. It creates a resistance within the human being. It creates a steadfastness within the human being. One of our ulama gives a beautiful example. He says, imagine there's a mountain climber. You want to climb a mountain, your aim is what? To get to the summit of the mountain. Okay? Your aim is to get to the summit of the mountain. There are different kinds of barriers that you're going to face, different kinds of impediments that you will face on your journey to the summit of this mountain. And these can be divided into two kinds of impediments. The first are external, the second are internal. So for example, from the external impediments are, for example, difficult weather conditions. It's uncomfortable to face rain, stormy weather, especially when climbing a mountain. Another example could be wild animals that are present on the mountain. I'm afraid a wolf may come along and bother me or scare me, and so on and so forth. The second kind of impediments, however, are much more important. The second kind of impediments on this journey to the summit of the mountain, on the journey of a lover towards the beloved, is what? The internal impediments. Like what? Fear. I'm afraid. Fear will stop me from reaching the summit of the mountain if I allow it to. What else? Indecisiveness. This is something that many of us suffer from. And it's okay, because we can heal from it if we come to the Quran, the Ahlul Bayt. We can heal from this. Indecisiveness. I'm not sure. I want to go, but I'm not sure if I can make it, and maybe there's something else I should do. Indecisiveness. If a person allows their indecisiveness to overcome them, they'll never make it. They're still undecided. After some years, they could have gone to the summit to come back by this time twice. Still indecisive. I'm not sure about this. Doubt, indecisiveness, fear. The love of comfort. It's not very comfortable to climb a mountain all the way to the summit. I'd like to have that feeling of achievement to get the summit of a mountain, to say I've conquered this mountain. But I can't be bothered. I'd rather stay at home, lie on the couch and watch TV. It's more comfortable than facing all those challenges, right? So these are the different kinds of impediments you're going to face as a mountain climber trying to get to the summit of the mountain. Now here is the point this is all leading to. That grand scholar, he made this point beautifully. He says that force, that power within, that leads you to overcome all of these barriers and gets you to the summit, even though you were experiencing fear, even though you're experiencing indecisiveness, even though there may be wolves and bad weather conditions, but that strength and that energy from within that gets you to the summit of the mountain, do you know what that's called in the Quran? As-sabr.
MashaAllah.
Sabr isn't what we think it is. Sabr isn't patience, it's steadfastness. And how many people have been deprived from the message of the Quran because it hasn't been conveyed properly? Sabr isn't being passive, it's being active. Sabr isn't what we often think, which is the following, that for example, there's a problem in the family. There's a problem going on in the family. And the Anbiya, if you look in the Quran, you'll find the majority of them have family problems. Sometimes when we complain, if my family was different, if my family was understanding, then I'd be the best mu'min. No. Iman is built by means of these hardships. Embrace them. Adam alayhi salam, His son killed his brother. Nuh alayhi salam, his wife and son were from the worst of his enemies. Musa alayhi salam was raised by the Fir'aun. Yusuf alayhi salam, his brothers were the ones who wanted to murder him and they sold him to slavery. You see the recurring theme? Which of the Anbiya had perfect conditions around them? Ideal conditions. Man is built by means of these unideal conditions. So sabr isn't that, for example, there's a family problem, there's an issue, and I just accept it, sit down, do nothing about it, and say, I'm doing sabr. No. Sabr is the strength and the courage and the determination that takes you to try and solve the problem. Sabr isn't something for broken people who are humiliated and weak and don't have any energy to do anything. Quite the opposite. Sabr means steadfastness. Sabr means strength, resilience. You keep going no matter what. That is sabr. That is when Allah says, Inna Allah ma'as sabirin. This person who keeps going no matter what the world throws at him, he keeps going to reach his beloved, to reach that summit. He is practicing sabr. Allah says, I'm right with you. Not that person who's sitting crying for himself, beating himself in the corner. Inna Allah ma'as sabirin. Sabr is one of the highest acts of ibadah and worship. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So when you are in love with something, you know what the effect of that love is? Sabr, steadfastness in reaching that beloved. Whichever impediment there may be, I'm going to go towards it. With bravery, with strength, with determination and resilience, and I'm going to win. Or die trying. And if I die trying, I'm a shaheed. It's a win-win. Win-win situation. Let's give some examples. Just to show how close all of these matters are to us. Much closer than we imagine. Because sometimes, I'll say this in brackets, sometimes the way we preach religion, unfortunately, it's like you come into a mosque, you go into a bubble, hear a lecture, then you go back and live your life. Nothing to do with our lives. But Allah wants to be part of every moment of your life. It's clear from the Quran. Allah is saying again and again, look, I'm close. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my servants ask you about me, then I'm so close. In any case, let's try to explain how this is very close to us. Everything we're discussing is very close to us. A child, dear brothers and sisters, a small child, has never been taught by his parents or her parents what love is. In terms of what? They've experienced love of the parents, so they've understood it. But has the mother or father ever sat the child down, look, my child, my son, my daughter, love is the following and you should love me. Who does that? No one's done that. Yet we see children expressing love to their parents. Because it's self-evident. It's inbuilt within us. When a child is running towards the arms of its mother or its father, right? It's running towards the arms of its parents. It knows that there's a possibility it might fall. It might trip. For a child, that's a big thing. Yet it pushes that to the side of its mind and runs regardless. Why? Because of the love of the one it's trying to reach. Look, it begins right from there. In fact, it forgets of that possibility. Maybe I'll fall, maybe indecisiveness is out of the picture now, because the love has come in the picture. I have to reach my beloved. Another example. When a young man or a young woman falls in love, and by this I mean Disney love, I don't mean love of Islam. Disney love, their love. Okay? Hollywood love, if you like. You know that's not real love, but even that small, descended version of love. Even there, it has its effects. Right? What happens? He's up late at night. He has to work the next day. There's a fear if he doesn't have enough sleep, he won't be ready for work. He might oversleep, but no, he wants to keep speaking to his whatever, to that person that he loves. We're doing this all the time, brothers and sisters. When you love something or love someone, the things that you fear, you find the bravery to face them. You find the bravery to face them. A higher example. What led a person by the name of Rachel Corrie? She wasn't a Muslim on the outside, but we discussed this yesterday. We have to become deeper than that. You can be a Muslim on the outside and murder the Imam of your time. You have to become deeper than that. She wasn't a Muslim on the outside. What led this woman to go to Palestine and stand in front of a tank or a bulldozer that was about to destroy and level the homes of some Palestinians to the ground? And she stood in front of that tank to try and stop that happening. It was al-hub, it was love. Love for what? For justice. Love makes you brave. Love makes you brave. When there's an absence of bravery on our parts in reaching something we love, why is that? Because we don't love that thing truly, deeply. Why is it that I find that many times, even though I feel the love of the Ahlul Bayt in my heart, alhamdulillah, we love the Ahlul Bayt, but at times I fail when it comes to following them. At times, I love the Ahlul Bayt, but at times I know the Ahlul Bayt say go right, but because everyone else is saying go left, I end up going left. And I hate myself for it, but I end up doing it. I'm not going to give specific examples. Everyone, for themselves can find those examples. Why? Because the love of the Ahlul Bayt has not yet conquered my heart completely. Remember we spoke about the battle within? How there's Iblis, the forces of Allah, the forces of Iblis, they're battling for the heart because the battle is still going on. One hasn't expelled the other completely yet. It's an ongoing process. But when the heart is conquered by Allah and His forces, that is when we have the narration of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa where he said, it's related, he said, Man mata ala hubbi ali Muhammadin mata shahida.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
One who dies with the love of the household of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa dies as a shaheed. No matter what condition he dies in. Why? Because this love has conquered his heart. Finished. He's reached his perfection as a human being. It's all about love. هل دين الحب من مات على حب آل محمد مات مغفورا له. One who dies with the love of the household of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa dies forgiven. من مات على حب آل محمد مات تائبا. One who dies with the love of the household of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa dies as a person who's done tawbah. من مات على حب آل محمد مات مؤمنا مستكمل الإيمان. One who dies with the love of the household of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa dies as a mu'min who's completed his iman, perfected his iman. Why? Because this love has conquered his heart now. He's made it. But look what the criterion is. Man mata. One who in the final moments leaves this world with this love. And this is where we have to be careful. Because it's a fight till the final moments. Those final moments which all of us are going to face. There's no running from it. All of us will face those moments. Whatever condition your heart is in those final moments, that is your destiny. That your destiny is sealed right there. That is your position before Allah for eternity. What happens in those final moments for most of us, for most human beings, who this battle within the heart continues until death, for most of us, the fact is that both sides, both forces, the forces of Allah and the forces of Iblis, do their utmost best to win your heart to their side. Because these are the deciding moments. Which side does the heart fall on? Whichever side was stronger during the life of this human being. It's not random. They say there was a sheikh who entered the hawza. Okay? They weren't shuyukh in the beginning, they became shuyukh later. Two hawza students had entered the hawza. They entered together as friends. In the hawza, there is this beautiful tradition of mubahatha, where we discuss our lessons. We teach that whatever we learn the day, you discuss it with your mubahatha partner, another hawza student in your class normally. You teach it to your friend, he teaches it to you, to make sure you've understood it. They became mubahatha partners, so every day they're together. They're discussing their lessons, they're studying together. The years go by, they age, they grow beards, they get turbans, they get the clothing, the years go by, they're studying, they become scholars, they have families, they have children. It just so happens, destiny determines that one of these two shuyukh becomes a grand marja, a grand scholar. He becomes famous. People are going to him with their queries and questions, they respect him. And the other one doesn't become famous. He doesn't get the crowds, doesn't have an office and a secretary. It said that when this second one was on his deathbed, so imagine big sheikh. It's not about the outward. It's not about the outward. Big sheikh. He's on his deathbed. We're speaking about those final moments and the tug of war that's taking place in that moment. He's on his deathbed. He's muhtadar, as it's called in fiqh. The person who's in the presence of the angels, al-muhtadar, who's leaving this world. What are you meant to do when a Muslim is not in that condition? One of the recommended actions is the following. You say to them, La ilaha illallah. You say La ilaha illallah. Say the shahadatain. You recite the verses of the Quran. You try to make them utter the testimonies of faith. They came to this shaykh, his household, his family members, his friends, whoever that may have been, maybe his students. They were around the shaykh when he was on his deathbed. They said, Shaykh, say La ilaha illallah. Because look, now the reality is coming out. At that moment, I can't pretend. In the masjid, I can pretend I'm very pious. But Allah knows who is truly pious. The reality is coming out in that moment. They said, Shaykh, say La ilaha illallah. He said, no. They were shocked. This sheikh who dedicated his whole life to Islam and knowledge, that's what it seemed like. So they said again, Shaykh, say La ilaha illallah. He said, no. They're shocking priest. They said, Shaykh, say La ilaha illallah. These are the final moments. What's on your heart, bring it on your tongue. Say La ilaha illallah. He said, no. Allah hasn't been just to me. What do you mean, O Shaykh? You consider Allah to be a zalim, na'yadu billah? This is kufr. This disbelief in the clear verses of the Quran. He said, Allah hasn't been just to me. Why? What did Allah do that was so unjust? I entered the house all those years ago with this friend of mine. I had nothing less than him. I deprived myself from the pleasures of the dunya. I worshipped. I prayed. I sought knowledge for Allah. I did all of these things. And in the end, he becomes a grand marja. And I get nothing. Everyone goes to him. Everyone respects him. And nothing for me. I won't say La ilaha illallah. And this shaykh left this world in a state of kufr. Being in the house that doesn't make you close to Allah. If purifying this makes it close to Allah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهُ وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهُ. The one who purified himself, he's the one who succeeded. Be he a house student or a street cleaner, doesn't matter. And the one who buried himself, buried this inspired soul that Allah has placed within each and every one of us, he failed. Allah doesn't have, in Iran they say ta'aruf, with anyone. Allah doesn't beat around the bush with anyone. When it comes to Allah, everything is serious. Everything is serious. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So for most of us, this battle will continue until death. Inshallah, we can try to be from those who in their lifetime expel those false beloveds from the heart and return the heart to its true owner and its true beloved. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from them. Now, dear brothers and sisters, we have incredible narrations from the Ahlul Bayt about the station of the Shia, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. However, in these narrations, when we examine them, because in the narrations the Ahlul Bayt describe who their Shia are, it seems that this is referring to those individuals who this love has conquered their heart. Love of dunya no longer exists. Inshallah, we can all be in the path of becoming from them. But the Ahlul Bayt were very, very harsh towards people who claimed to be Shia, but in reality, they didn't follow them. And I'd like to share with you a narration. I wish I knew it by heart, sadly I don't, but it's so beautiful and it's so important that I had to write it down. I'm going to read it for you, inshallah. This is present in one of our most authentic books of narrations, Al-Kafi, Volume 2. It's related that Al-Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam is addressing Jabir, who's one of the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, one of the loyal companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa and his household, who lived to see Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, even though he was blind by that time. So when we look at the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt, brothers and sisters, we find that depending on who is being addressed, the Ahlul Bayt speak differently. They speak on the level of the person being addressed. Sometimes you have narrations that seem very simple, and then you have narrations that are mind-blowing. Why? Because of the person being addressed. So Jabir is going to receive some gems. This is Jabir. It's not just any companion of the Ahlul Bayt. And he's going to receive a very severe and intense dose of reality. And so are we, inshallah. What does the Imam say to Jabir? He says, Ya Jabir, O Jabir, أَيَكْتَفِي مَنْ انْتَحَلَ التَّشَيُّعْ أَنْ يَقُولَ بِحُبِّنَا أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ. O Jabir, is it sufficient for one who claims to be from our followers, who claims to have tashayyu', who claims to be a Shi'i, that he just says that he loves us, the Ahlul Bayt? فَوَاللَّهِ مَا شِيعَتُنَا إِلَّا مَنِ اتَّقَى اللَّهُ وَأَطَاعَهُ. I swear by Allah, our Shia are none other than those who have consciousness of Allah and obey Him. وَمَا كَانَ يُعْرَفُونَ يَا جَابِرُ. And O Jabir, our Shia are not known except, are not recognized except with the following signs. بالتواضع, with humility that's seen physically. والتخشع, the humility of the heart. والأمانة, trustworthiness. وكثرة ذكر الله, remembering Allah frequently. والصوم, and fasting. والصلاة, and prayer. والبر بالوالدين, and goodness to the parents. والتعاهد للجيران من الفقراء وأهل المسكن والغارمين والأيتام. And being faithful and loyal to the neighbors of theirs who are in poverty and deprivation, and those who are orphans. وصدق الحديث, and being truthful when they speak. وتلاوة القرآن, and the recitation of the Quran. وَالْكَفِّ الْأَلْسُنِ عَنِ النَّاسِ إِلَّا مِنْ خَيْرٍ, and by means of remaining silent regarding people except when speaking goodness. وَكَانُوا أُمَنَاءَ عَشَائِرِهِمْ فِي الْأَشْيَاءِ, and they are the ones who their people trust them with their belongings. If you're shocked hearing this, so was Jabir. Jabir said, يَا ابْنَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ مَا نَعْرِفُ الْيَوْمَ أَحَدًا بِهَذِهِ الصِّفَةِ. O son of Allah's messenger, we don't know a single person with these qualities today. فقال عليه السلام, the Imam said, يا جابر, O Jabir, لا تذهبن بك المذاهب. Don't let different opinions mislead you. حسب الرجل أن يقول أحب عليا وتولاه ثم لا يكون مع ذلك فعالا. Don't be misled that it's sufficient for a person to say, I love Ali, alayhi salam, but after that, after saying he has the love and walaya of Ali, he's not extremely active in doing goodness. Don't be misled, O Jabir. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَاعْمَلُوا لِمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Now the Imam is addressing those who want to be from them. All of us, the Imam says, it's related, he says, have consciousness of Allah and work. Do amal, make effort for that which is with Allah. لَيْسَ بَيْنَ اللَّهِ وَبَيْنَ أَحَدٍ قَرَابَةٍ. Allah is no one's relative. It's very harsh. It's a harsh dose of reality, we need it. Allah is not someone's relative. There's no relation in terms of being a relative between Allah and any of His creation. أحب العباد إلى الله عز وجل وأكرمهم عليه أتقاهم أعملهم بطاعته. The most beloved of Allah's servants to Him, the most honored of Allah's servants before Him are those who have the most consciousness of Him and who work the hardest in obeying Him. Ya Jabir, O Jabir, Wallahi, I swear by Allah, ما يتقرب إلى الله تبارك وتعالى إلا بالطاعة. I swear by Allah, nearness to Allah cannot be achieved except by means of obedience to Him. وَمَا مَعَنَا بَرَاءَةً مِنَ النَّارِ. And we, the Ahlul Bayt, we don't have amnesty from the fire of hell. We don't hold that amnesty. وَلَا عَلَى اللَّهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ حُجَّةٍ. And no one has an excuse before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مَنْ كَانَ لِلَّهِ مُطِيعًا فَهُوَ لَنَا وَلِيٌّ. One who is obedient to Allah, he is one of our lovers and friends. وَمَنْ كَانَ لِلَّهِ عَاصِيًا فَهُوَ لَنَا عَدُوٌّ. As for one who is disobedient to Allah, he is our enemy. وَمَا تُنَالُ وَلَايَتُنَا إِلَّا بِالْعَمَلِ وَالْوَرَى. And our walaya, our love and closeness cannot be reached except by means of piety and good actions. All of us, alhamdulillah, have the love of Ahlul Bayt in our hearts, but the love of dunya is fighting with this love. Who's going to conquer your hearts? Who's it going to be? That's the question we have to ask. There's an example of an individual who was going through this battle in Karbala. That individual was someone who had the love of the Imam in his heart. That individual was someone who was appointed by the governor of Kufa, that's Mal'un Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, to be the head of the army that fought Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. That's Mal'un Umar ibn Sa'ad. What did he do? He didn't want to fight the Imam. He comes to Karbala, he sees the situation, he writes a letter to Kufa, saying to the governor of Kufa, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, trying to make him change his opinion. Don't fight Al-Hussein alayhi salam, better this way, better that way. He himself said that he doesn't want to fight and so on and so forth. He made up a few things as well. Why? Because he didn't want to meet Allah with the blood of Allah's messenger in his hands. He didn't hate the Imam. What was the problem, Umar ibn Sa'ad? the love of the Imam had not conquered the love of dunya in his heart. Allahu Akbar. He was promised something. He was promised governance, power. See, the shayateen, they know your weak points, they come exactly for that. That's how they enter your heart, through your weaknesses. To get to Allah, you have to overcome your weaknesses. Shaitan can't enter. What was his weakness? He wanted authority. He was telling Umar, look, it's very simple. If you want the governance of that piece of land, Ray, that was what the land was called. The price is the head of Al-Hussein. Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam himself, it's related, he met Umar ibn Sa'ad and tried to win him over. But the love of dunya had penetrated too deep into his heart. So even though he didn't want to have the blood of the Imam in his hands, what happened on the day of Ashura? It was he who shot the first arrow, saying, tell the Amir, being Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, it was me who shot the first arrow. Until the day of judgment, he is cursed by Allah, his prophets, the A'immah, the angels, the mu'mineen, and all existence. Brothers and sisters, sooner or later in this life, you will have to choose. It's just a matter of time. All of us will be in this position, sooner or later. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who always choose Al-Hussein. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة فيا ليتنا كنا معك سيدي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما لا إله إلا الله. You know what other quality love has with it, brings with it? A person who falls in love with Allah experiences loneliness. That's one of the hardships. One of the companions of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was very, very lonely. Because this companion never reached Karbala. The companions in Karbala, they had their Imam with them. But this companion of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, this lover of the Imam, was martyred in loneliness. La ilaha illallah. Who is this lonely stranger wandering these dark alleys? By Allah, his fragrance reminds me of Ali. Who is he? The stranger of Kufa. Stranger of Kufa. It's dark. He prays Maghrib. Thousands gave their word. They claim to be Shia. They pledged allegiance to him. La ilaha illallah. Thousands gave their hearts. He prays. By the end of his salah, there is no one praying behind him. But all he thinks about is one thing. I have to tell my master, don't come to me. La ilaha illallah. How loyal you are, O Muslim. روحي لك الفداء يا مسلم. روحي لك الفداء يا مسلم. It's very hard to be martyred in loneliness. You know, they couldn't capture him because these were men of God. Rajalullah. They knew how to fight the enemy. They trapped him. He was brought in ropes and chains into the presence of the governor of Kufa, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, who was a disgusting Nasri. He had hatred for that and great in his heart. He's brought in ropes and chains. He's fought. He's bleeding. At one point during the fight, before being brought to the palace of Haidar, the teeth of Muslim became injured. He's bleeding. They bring him into the palace. Ubaydullah is sitting arrogantly on his throne. This line of Allah brought in chains and ropes. The guard at the entrance, you know what Muslim did? Look at this. He didn't even acknowledge Ubaydullah. Even in that condition, because his heart has been won by Al-Hussein. Someone whose heart is won by Al-Hussein doesn't acknowledge anyone else. The guard at the entrance said to him, do you not greet the Amir? He said, be silent, he is not my Amir. Who is his Amir? His Amir is Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Amiri Hussein wa ni'mal Amir. Hussein is my master, and the best of masters is Al-Hussein. He is brought into the presence of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad in that condition. One of the final requests of Muslim was what? He was thirsty. He was thirsty. He said, bring me some water. They brought a bowl of water to Muslim. In that moment, some of the blood that was on the lips of Muslim fell into that water. La ilaha illallah. He said, bring me water again. They brought him water again. What happened? Another drop of blood fell into the water. La ilaha illallah. When he requested water for the third time, they brought the bowl before him. It was in this moment that after a second, Muslim ibn Aqil saw his teeth in the bowl before him. La ilaha illallah. It was then he understood what Allah wanted. He understood Allah wants me to meet him thirsty. Atshana. Where did your heart go? La ilaha illallah. Muslim. Doesn't every lover wish to resemble his beloved? Oh Muslim. Ya Gharib Kufa, stranger of Kufa. They took Muslim Na'atim to the roof of Darul Imara, to the roof of the palace of Ibn Ziyad. That Mal'oon gave the order, strike the neck of Muslim and throw his body, and don't bury the body of Muslim. Rather send his head around the city. La ilaha illallah, ya Muslim ibn Aqil. How blessed you are. Would that you were there on the day of Ashura to see your beloved, to see Abu Abdullah, to know how similar you became to your beloved, O Muslim. Why? Because Abu Abdullah was also thirsty on the day of Ashura. What other similarities are there? La ilaha illallah. The days of Al-Hussein alayhi salam are here. It's time for these hearts to open, for these tears to flow. La ilaha illallah. What are the similarities, O Muslim? Is it not true that they brought the sword down on your neck, O Muslim? Would that you were there on the day of Ashura. When the sword of that Mal'oon came down upon the neck of Abu Abdullah. Would that I could say it was the sword of Muslim. This is the difference between you and Al-Hussein. Oh Muslim, it was a strike of the sword that separated your head. Would that you were there on the day of Ashura. It wasn't a sword in the neck of your master, rather it was a dagger. La ilaha illallah. What other similarities is there, O Muslim? Oh Muslim, I know your head was paraded around the city of Kufa. Would that you were there on the 11th of Muharram to see the head of Abu Abdullah paraded from city to city. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. But there's also one similarity, one difference, oh Muslim. What difference is that? This difference is very painful. Ya Sahib subhanallah, la ilaha illallah. The difference is the following, oh Muslim. You were martyred in loneliness, you were martyred in ghurba. Your household wasn't there to see your head paraded. But now yawmak, ya Abu Abdullah. Would that I could tell you the same went for Abu Abdullah. The doctor says something very painful. The household of Abu Abdullah, when they were about to reach Sham, when the streets were filled with the people, one of the sisters of the Imam went to Shimr ibn Dil Joshan, la'natullahi alayhi. She said to him, there is a request that I have. He said the following, he said, what is your request? La ilaha, isn't this enough to cry over? The daughters of Allah's Messenger have to request Shimr ibn Dil Joshan. La ilaha illallah. He said, what is your request? You know what she said? She said, take the heads of the shuhada, place them in front of us and not between us. Why? So that the eyes of people fall upon the heads of the shuhada and don't fall upon the daughters of Rasulullah. If it wasn't Muharram, I wouldn't say this now. Ya Sahib Zaman, forgive me. La ilaha illallah. Do you know what that mal'oon did? He did the opposite. He took the heads of the shuhada. He placed the heads between the daughters of Rasulullah, so that people's eyes are diverted. La ilaha illallah. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا بأي منقلب ينقلبون. On behalf of Muslim ibn Hatim, Gharib Kufa, many of us will be saved by Muslim tonight. Many of us will be saved by Muslim on the day of judgment, inshallah. This loyal, lonely servant of the Imam. On behalf of Muslim ibn Aqil, let's join the Anbiya, the angels in Bayn al-Haramayn, and send the salam upon Aba Abdullah. As-salamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sallallahu ala باكين على الحسين.